Alright, so in this video, we will discuss an example on how to find inverse using properties. Alright, so we have example here. Given the matrix A with element 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, find the value of m and n such that a squared plus ma plus ni is equals to 0, where I is 3 by 3 identity matrix and 0 is 0 matrix. Alright, so that is the first part of the question. Second part of the question is to find the A inverse, and then the third part of the question is to show that A cube is equals to 39A minus 70I. Alright, so we do the first part of the question first. We need to find the value of M and N. Alright, so the solution for the first part of the equation. Alright, so we know that a squared plus ma plus ni is equals to 0. Alright, so if we try to do this again, we should get the value of m and n. Alright, so that means if we multiply a squared is just a times a. That means we multiply matrix A with A again. So 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3. Alright, so multiply with A again. 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3. Alright, okay, plus MA. So MA is 3, 1, 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 1, 3. Right, and NI is n times the identity. 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1 is equals to 0 matrix. That means we're going to get 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Alright, so that means if we try to redo this equation again, we should get the value of m and n. Alright, so first we need to multiply a times a. Alright, so we can do the multiplication for 3 by 3 matrix, but I think everyone know how to multiply, so I just skip to the answer. So if you multiply a times a, we will get, so we're going to get 11, 7, 7, 7, 11, 7, and then we have 7, 7, 11. Right, so that is that is a squared. Right, so ma, we just multiply each element with m, so we get 3m, m, 3m, m, 3m, and then ni. So if you multiply this, we get n 0, 0, 0, n 0, 0, 0, n, and this is equals to 0 matrix. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Alright. Alright, so the question is we need to find the value of m and n. So to do that, we can compare the corresponding element. So for example, if you want to find m, we can compare this element here. Let's say we have 7 plus m plus 0 is equals to 0. So if we take this equation, we get 7 plus m plus 0 is equals to 0. So if we simplify this, we get m is equals to negative 7. So here we have it, m is equals to negative 7. Alright, so we have m. So to find n, we can take this element because n is here, m, and 3m is equals to 0. So we get 11 plus 3m plus n is equals to 0. And we know that m is equals to negative 7. So we can substitute the value of m. So m is negative 7 plus n is equals to 0. So this is 11 minus 21 is plus n equals to 0. So this is negative 10 plus n is equals to 0. So that means n is equals to 10. So there we have it. M is equals to negative 7 and n is equals to 10. Alright, so finish with the first part of the question. Alright, second part of the question is we need to use this relation to obtain A inverse. That's mean from the equation, okay, A squared plus MA I is equals to 0. And we know that m is equals to -7 and n is equals to 10, so we can substitute that value. So we have a squared minus 7a plus 10I is equals to 0. Alright, so from this equation we need to find A inverse. So how do we find A inverse? So the method is, if we want to find A inverse, what we do, we just multiply this equation both sides, okay, by A inverse. Alright, so to multiply A inverse, we need to be careful, because if we multiply A inverse at the left hand side, so the right hand side also need to be multiplied at the left hand side. If we have A is equals to B, for example, if you want to multiply C, matrix C, if you multiply C at the right hand side of A, here also we need to multiply C at the right hand side of B. We cannot multiply like this. If we have AB equals to B, we multiply C at the left, but at the right hand side we multiply C at the right hand side. We cannot do like this. Okay, this is wrong. So we remember, if we multiply at the right, this is also at the right. Alright, so we multiply both sides with A inverse. So I will multiply A inverse at the right hand side. So A squared times A inverse, 7A times A inverse, and then 10I also multiply with A inverse, and 0 also multiply with A inverse. And if you can see, I multiply A inverse at the same order, which is at the right hand side of each term. Alright, so when we multiply A squared times A inverse, this is equals to A times A times A inverse. And we know that if A times inverse is just I, so we have AI here. So A times A inverse, also we get I, we get 7I, and I times I is like I is just like 1. So if you multiply with any matrix, it's become the matrix itself again, right? And n equals to 0 times a matrix, also 0. So we have this equation, and then we can simplify. AI is just A minus 7I plus 10A inverse equals to 0. And we want to find A inverse, so that means we can rearrange the equation, and we just let the A inverse to be the subject of this equation. So we let the A inverse to be at the left hand side here. So we bring all A and 7I to the right hand side. So we get 10A inverse is equals to 7I minus A. And we just want A inverse, so 10 here we can divide both sides with 10. So we divide both sides with 10, so we have A inverse is equals to 1 over 10 times 7I minus A. Alright, so we can find this. So 1 over 10 and 7I is 700,070,007. This is 7I minus A. A is 311,131,113. Alright, so we can do this subtraction. So outside we have 1 over 10. So if we minus this, we have 7 minus 3 is 4, and 0 minus 1 is -1. So we get 4, -1, -1, -1, 4, -1, -1, -1, 4. And then we can multiply 1 over 10 to each element. So we get 2 over 5, -1 over 10, -1 over 10, -1 over 10, 2 over 5, -1 over 10, -1 over 10, -1 over 10, and lastly we have 2 over 5. Alright, so this is A inverse. Alright, so finish with the second part of the question to find A inverse, and the third part of the question is to show that a cube is equals to 39a minus 70i. Alright, so how we do this? So we need to show a cube is equals to 39a minus 70i. So this is what we want to show. Alright, so that's mean can use from this equation we have a squared minus 7a plus 10i is equals to 0. So from this equation, how do we get a cube? That's right, we just multiply both sides by a. Alright, so we multiply both sides by a, so we get a squared times a, 7a times a, times I times a, 0 times a. So this become a cube, and this is 7a squared plus 10a equals to 0. Alright, so we have a cube there, so we can rearrange this equation. So a cube is equals to 7a squared minus 10a. Hey, wait a minute, it's not the same like what we want. So how do we get to this equation? Alright, so we can get to there if we rearrange back this original equation here. So we have a squared is equals to 7a minus 10i, and we can use this equation to be substitute here. Alright, so we're going to substitute that. So we have a cube is equals to 7, a squared is equals to 7a minus 10i minus 10a. Alright, so we expand this, it become 49a minus 70i minus 10a. And if we simplify this, 49a minus 10a is 39a minus 70i. So this is a cube, and this is what we want to show. So we have what we want and then shown. Finish with the question.